Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the January 2023 Plugin Roundup here on iThemes Training. My name is Nathan Ingram. I'm the host at iThemes Training, and Happy New Year, everybody. It's the first webinar of the year. We are so excited about coming back and having a whole other year, additional year of great content for you, at least 2 times a week, probably 3 most weeks. 3 webinars a week here on iThemes Training. Super excited. I noticed there are a number of newer looking attendee names. So if this is your first, this is your first iThemes Training webinar, or one of your first, just say hi there in the chat. We'd love to greet you. Tell us where you're logging in from today. Love to say hi. Make sure you keep that chat popped open, because that's how we communicate during these webinars. Again, if you're just joining us, I'm going to drop in one more time the link to today's handout, as well as the replay. We'll have that up and ready about an hour after we finish today, along with the chat log and the transcript. Hey, Oscar from Norway, welcome. Glad you're here. If you're watching this on the replay, click the download handout button below the video, and you'll be able to download the handout. Okay, let's get started, shall we? We have a bunch of great plugins. I was telling folks in the pre-show 2 things. First, this is an above average month for plugins, which is odd because usually over the holidays, developers aren't doing developing, and it's kind of a, not as good of a list in January. This is not like that. I'm predicting actually that folks are going to have trouble picking their favorite plugin of the roundup this time. The other thing I'm going to mention is the weather here is really bad. We have some tornadoes about 15, 20 miles south of us here in Birmingham. And I've just been kind of watching. It's getting a little better, but if I disappear, it's probably not from a tornado. It could be just that our power went off, or our internet dropped. So if I disappear, don't panic. It's probably all just fine. Yeah, definitely some weather blowing in here. All right, so here is our January 2023 list. We are working on WPNathan.com. Chris and I enjoyed the holiday too much, and we did not get WP Nathan rebuilt over the holiday as we had intended to, but that will happen very soon. Maybe at some point this month, we'll get that rebuilt to the new one, because this WP Nathan site, as you may be aware, has had so many plugins installed and deactivated and reinstalled, and it is a nightmare behind the scenes in the database and all that stuff. So if you can imagine, we probably test 20 or 30 plugins a month at least, and all those every month, and this site just keeps getting uninstalled up. There's a lot of mess. So if we see something unexpected happen with WP Nathan, that's why. But let's get started with a great plugin, shall we? First, of course, the little note that I've started to add at the beginning of each of these handouts, and that is I'm not vouching for any of these plugins, okay? These are plugins. Our goal in the Plugin Roundup is just to look out at the WordPress plugin directory, find about a dozen free plugins in the directory that we think are interesting. And we have not thoroughly tested these for, excellent code or bugs or security or accessibility. These are some interesting plugins that we want to bring to your attention, and you can play around with them and see if they're going to work for you. So let's get started with the first of those, which is called WP Linker. WP Linker. This is an internal linking creator. So let's get started with that one. It is an interesting plugin because what it allows you to do is create very easily an internal linking strategy for your website. So let's go down to WP Linker and activate that. And what this is going to do is let you predefine a bunch of words on your website that will automatically be linked to a link that you set up right here on this page. Now, Paul, we have done similar plugins before. There was one of these we did a long time back, several years ago. I can't remember what it was called, but it did a similar thing. And so let me show you an example of how this works. We've got a page set up here. So we predefined a couple of terms. So basically, here's how it works. If you see this word appear in the content of a page or a post or whatever, then I want you to link it to this page with this title attribute. And you can also add, a rel attribute, canonical, whatever, no follow, all of this, right? So we have 2 terms defined, Chat GPT and chatbot, and there's this page. Now look, see, they are linked. Now, if we look at the actual content of the page, you'll see there's no links here in the actual content. That's because this is happening post-process. So when it pulls it out of the database, and this plugin scans the text that's on a page or a post, and if it sees matching text, it drops in the link. Sue, does Yoast see these? No, because they're actually not in the content of the page. This is done by jQuery as the page is rendering. So just for example, if we want to say OpenAI, I'm not sure if it's going to match with an apostrophe or not. Let's just try it. Let's add a new one, OpenAI. It's going to go again to the same OpenAI, and we can make that no follow and save. It's going to be interesting to see if that actually matches this term because it's possessive with an apostrophe S. So let's take a look at this. And of course, WP Nathan is going to go slow because it's a live webinar and we need it to work. Okay, here we go. Trying again. Okay, so it didn't match this because it's possessive, but if we happen to add that apostrophe S there, that will make it work. So it works across the site. Across the site, it automatically updates all of this. So if it doesn't like that apostrophe, so that was a really terrible option to show you. But anywhere the word chatbot or any of these appears across the entire site, it's going to automatically link those over. Now, there are some additional settings here that you can take a look at, and each particular entry has its own settings where you can say, oh, I want this particular keyword only if it's in this particular taxonomy, for example, or here, only if it's in this particular post type. And you can continue to stack these up. And like, I only want to do this if it's a product of WooCommerce, right? Or particular pages can be shown right here. You can also decide just how many links you want. So, do we want 2 words if it's shown multiple times, or, 2 words spacing before it links again, or, how many items to skip from the start. So maybe if that word shows up once, it doesn't show, but then the second or third time it links it there, or how many max matches on the page. Is it like every time we see this, term, do we want to link it or what? So we can put as many as we want so that every time it shows up. Now, the nice thing about this, you can use this for internal linking as well, and it creates a nice internal linking structure on your site automatically. So this is particularly helpful if you've got a site with a lot of technical terms. Well, you can go in, like you could, for example, have a glossary page and link to the glossary term and just put that into a link, this link manager like this, and it would just automatically link all those terms throughout the site to somewhere else. So Sue says, can you link the word the? You absolutely could. But this is WP Linker. Really cool. Very, very useful. Any questions or comments about this one? He's super helpful. All right. Let's move on to the next plugin, which is another interesting plugin called Click Whale, which is a link shortener, link tracker, and link page creator. So this is similar to the redirection plugin that we've used for years in agency work, as well as recommended and taught webinars on here on iThemes training. Redirection by John Godley, I believe, is the author of that plugin. It's been around forever. It works great. A little more technically oriented to developers. This is a more friendly version. It kind of approaches links from a different direction. It's a more user-centric link manager. So if you have, for example, a client that might want to set up redirections, you might want to consider this plugin instead of using the classic redirection plugin. It basically does most of the things that a client would want to do with redirection, or any kind of a more basic type user of WordPress, and it makes it a little simpler, in my opinion. Plus, it has one other feature that I really like. So let's go in here and check out this Click Whale plugin, get it activated. All right. And once we have this up, you will see that we have a couple of things here. So if we want to add a new redirection, what is this going to be called? Let's call this, I don't know. Let me find something from the shop. Let's say we want to, all right, here's this product. It's called Scooby Snacks. And we're going to make a shortcut for Scooby. So this is going to be called Scooby. And the slug that it's going to is this one, this product. Whoops, it just needs to be the slug, not the first part. So that's how it's going. I don't need a slash. There we go. All right, so that's what the link is going to be. The target URL, oh, wait, I'm sorry, this is wrong. We're going to make it Scooby. And the target URL is this. So when we go to wpnathan.com/Scooby, it's going to automatically forward to this URL. We can choose the redirection type, which generally speaking, it's always going to be 301, unless you know of a good technical reason that it shouldn't be a 301. Do we want to mark it as no follow, no index? Probably not. Is it a sponsored link? So if you've got affiliate links or something, you could use this. And you could set up a description if you want. These links can also have categories. Now that is something redirection, the plugin does that. It just calls them groups, and it's a little more complicated, but this has, categories just like posts can have, and so more basic users of WordPress are more familiar with that. So that works out really well. But we're just going to create that link and it should be all set. So if we go to this link, it should automatically forward us to the product. And there it is. Paul, it is very similar to Pretty Links, but it does one more thing. Okay. So you've seen Pretty Links, you've seen redirection, but this does one more thing that I think it's what sets it apart from some of these other plugins. And that is the link page. The link page. So have you seen these services that basically create, and it's for, like social media services that only let you put one link in your bio. And so people will create a link page. It has like their name and logo or whatever, and then a bunch of little button links underneath it for people to go check out, like these products or, things like that. So let me just show you this one because, actually, this one is a more built out version. So this is what I mean by a link page, right? Where you can have, your logo and some text, and then these quick links like Linktree. Thank you. It was evading my mind. It's like Linktree, but it's built into WordPress. And so you can define these links and it builds this page just as simply as this. So I've created this thing that's called test. It's a, brilliant name. So, your description is this. You can put your logo in there. What's the slug? Like right here, it's going to be wpnathan.com/link page. And then look, you can pick from your links you've defined and just stack them up right there. So you pick from the links you've made and stack, 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 stack. There they are. And we're going to save this. You have the option, of course, to set colors and styling on this page. These are just kind of the default ones. And let's take a look at that. Here's what it looks like, just real quick. Boom. There's our two links. Works really, really well. So this is something that's easy enough for a client to use, or you might even consider, baking this into website builds. If you have a customer that is, interested and they do a lot on social media and they need a link page like this, you could throw that in for them at really no cost, and it's branded to their website. Really cool thing. So that is, oh, and by the way, here's the other thing about this. You can have multiple link pages, right? You can just, oh, I'm sorry, that's wrong. I think it's the pro version that gives you multiple link pages. And it is, I don't have a link for the pro version. I'm sure they're going to add more in a pro version. I don't have information on the pricing there. It also noticed that it does track views. as well. It gives you basic analytics on how many times that link has been clicked, which is helpful. Yeah, so pretty cool. One thing that I will note, and I've mentioned this to the developer in the support for this plugin, these link pages, for whatever reason, don't work under PHP 8. They give a 500 error. It's probably some simple little issue they need to deal with in the programming. But yep, it does not work under PHP 8 for these link pages yet. That should be a quick fix for them, and hopefully they'll get that remedied pretty soon. All right, that is Click Whale. Any questions or comments about that one? Pretty good stuff. All right, let's keep moving down the list to, this is a super helpful plugin called Media Types by Fev the Dev, which is my award winner for the best developer name of the roundup. So Fev the Dev has created this plugin called Media Types. And here's the thing. Have you ever had a client upload a like a bitmapped image, or maybe they've uploaded a GIF or some giant something, or they have a tendency to upload, you know, video files to your WordPress media library? You don't want that. Yeah, so this is a really easy to use plugin that lets you deselect the file types that you do not want to have uploaded to WordPress. Look how easy this is to use. Let's go activate Media Types by Fev the Dev. Media Types. All right. And that is under settings. Oh, no, tool. No, settings, media types. Okay, here we go. So there's a couple tabs here. So we'll start over here with audio. And here's all these various formats of audio. Now, by default, all of these are green. Green means good. Green means you can upload them to the WordPress media library. If I don't want any audio to be uploaded, I can just uncheck them. Or maybe I only want MP3s to be uploaded, just like that. So right now, you can't upload anything but an MP3 to the media library, or deselect that one and no audio can be uploaded at all. Whoops, I just confused it. That's interesting. Haven't seen that happen before. We're getting errors, weird errors on WP Nathan. This was what I was warning about in the beginning. Images the same way. This is super helpful. No bitmaps, no TIFFs, no JPEGs or HEICs or ICOs, only JPEGs, WebPs, and pings. Great. Let's save that. Fantastic. How about video? Do we want the client to upload video? The answer to that question is no. Any video. Save it. Something is happening here. Chris, did you see this happen? I didn't see this happening when we were looking at this earlier. It does not like something. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it just needs one to be, I don't know. That's really weird. Yeah, it didn't like something. I don't know what's going on there. That's interesting. Also, here under text, do we want to prevent these text types from being uploaded? The same for various applications. So this is kind of crazy, but like, for example, there's Java, but like docx files, gzip files, we want to upload zips at all, Excel files, all these various file extensions. There you go. Ronnie, can PSDs be prevented? PSDs you can't upload by default in WordPress. These are all, I think, isn't that right? Let's see if there is an option. So they don't have an option specifically to disable PSD, but I didn't think you could upload PSDs in the media library. Maybe you can. I've not ever tried that, Ronnie, so I don't have a good answer. You don't want to test that. But this particular plugin does not, under images, for example, have a PSD option. So that is Media Types by Fev the Dev. with a couple of weird errors that I think are related to WP Nathan. I would imagine if you tried this on your own site, it's going to be fine. All right. Any questions or comments about that one? That is media types. And basically, by the way, what happens when you try to upload something that's been disallowed in this plugin, it says you can't upload that file type. Much like you get if you try to upload an SVG to WordPress before, allowing that with some plugin, it just says that file type is not supported. That's the error that you get here. All right, let's move down to the next one, which is a WooCommerce add-on called Product Quantity Updater. Product Quantity Updater. Now, I like this one because it makes it really easy to add quantity increase or decrease buttons on either side of the quantity field. So Product Quantity Updater. And there's various ways to do this with your theme or with other, there's other plugins that do this sort of thing. This is a really simple way to do it and makes it really easy to use. Let me just get to a particular product. Okay, here's what it adds right there, these buttons. And so Cadence, you'll notice, has something like this. It's in the settings. But if you want something that's a little more workable, a little bigger, for example, like you may not know until you mouse over the quantity. Like these make it really easy to click. This, I think, would be especially helpful if you have users in perhaps an older age demographic where a more pronounced quantity field, a quantity adjustment might make sense to them rather than having to mouse over something, make it a little more plain. That could be helpful. It also has these buttons in the cart itself. If we can get the cart to load, we're having issues with WP Nathan today. My goodness. So these are, can't even edit. These are buttons that you can style very easily with CSS as well. There aren't any settings on the back end here. Yeah, we're having the weird errors we're getting with WP Nathan are Ajax related. Yeah, it put in the card. It was just hung. So you can see them here in the card as well. And when I stop clicking, notice it automatically refreshed the cart. So watch, I'll click it once and it automatically triggers a cart refresh to make that quantity stick. So it's a pretty nice little plugin. It's called Product Quantity Updater. Any questions, comments about this one? Could be a nice add-on for your WooCommerce site, depending on how you want that function to work. All right, moving on down to the next one, submitted by Sue Polinsky. So everybody can thank Sue for this one. This is a really cool plugin, by the way. And as I am thinking about it, you can submit a plugin once you're logged into the training site. If you're a member, you can click here to suggest a plugin, and there's a simple form to fill out the plugin name, plugin link, your name, and your email. And just notice these have to be free plugins. We did have a couple that were premium plugins that have been suggested that we don't put in these roundups. And also, if the plugin requires an API to connect, we usually don't feature those because it's really just an API. But we'll take a look at those as they come in. This is a great plugin called XML Sitemap for PDFs for Yoast SEO by a developer you may have heard of before named Joost de Valk. I don't know. Maybe you've heard of him before. He is the Yoast, by the way, behind Yoast SEO. And this is a great plugin in the case where you have a site that has a lot of PDFs in the media library. So maybe this is a resource site and there's a whole bunch of PDFs and you want those to get found by search engines better. This way, it actually puts all of the PDFs in your media library in a sitemap of its own. So let me just activate this. There aren't any settings. It just works, which is nice. So activating that one, and I'm going to go to the, I also can't spell. Let's go to the sitemap for the site. Oh my goodness, Nathan. Okay, so right here, this is really small. So here's the sitemap that Yoast SEO, the plugin, generates for each of the post types or taxonomies or whatever. Notice down here, there is one here called PDF files. And what happens here is this is actually searching the media library. It does not depend on it being live on a page or anything like that. If it's in the media library, it's going to show up here on the PDF sitemap. It doesn't have to be attached to a page or anything like that. This plugin scans the media library for any file that ends in PDF and creates a sitemap of it. So it's super helpful for a resource site or something where they want the PDFs to be found and indexed by search engines. Now, the converse side of this is, did you know that any PDF you upload to your media library is probably going to be found and indexed by Google, which means like WordPress by default makes everything in the media library public. So if you have, some proprietary organizational type information, don't put that in the media library because it can be found just by Google scanning the page, and Google will index the content of that PDF as long as that is text content. So if you have a site where you want those PDFs to be accessed, this is a great thing to add because this is how Google wants to be informed that this content exists on your website. So simple plugin, just install and activate it. That is XML sitemap for PDFs for Yoast SEO. And yes, it does depend on Yoast SEO being installed and active on the site in order to work, because it's just extending the Yoast SEO sitemap features. All right. Paul, how about if it is protected and not found? I'm not sure what you mean by that. If it's in the media library, it's indexable, unless you have some other plugin that's preventing the access of files like that. Digital, Sue, do you mean easy digital downloads? Easy digital downloads stores its stuff in a whole other file, a whole other folder system, as does something like Download Manager or one of those types of plugins. Yeah, they're stored outside the media library. Paul, if you want to prevent a PDF from being accessed, then you need to use some other plugin that has its own scheme for storing those types of documents, like Download Monitor, Download Manager, Easy Digital Downloads, things like that. MemberPress has something like that also. Yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments on that one? All right, let's take you down to the next plugin, which is the love it or hate it plugin of the roundup. So this is one you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. I actually hate it, but it's really well executed, so we put it on here anyway. It is called Better Smooth Scroll. And what this basically does is enable smooth scrolling as a feature on your site. Some kitchen sink themes include this by default in the settings. Many of the later themes like Cadence that are more focused on performance do not put this in as part of the theme. But if you like this, and I've had some clients that love this, this is a great way to do it. So Better Smooth Scroll. Let me go into the settings of this plugin, and let's just show you actually first what it does. So, I've turned off the scroll bar. So what this does, I'm going to scroll my the wheel on my mouse just a little bit, and you'll see it. What it does, it's the smooth scrolling like this. And you've probably seen this on pages before, where it scrolls an increment and then stops. It's a smooth scrolling. And that's what this plugin allows. It's going to be probably hard for you to see on this demo. So I've actually accidentally disabled the scroll bar. So let's put that back. This is, it also allows you to customize the look of the scroll bar on the side of the page as well. So those are the two basic features. You can decide only on certain browsers to do this. Yeah, Beth hates this. I'm not a big fan of it, but listen, I mean, I've had clients that want this, and this is a great way to add it to the site. So let's hear from you in the chat. You like it? You hate it? Did I love it or hate it? Let's hear from you there. Pass. Meh. Yeah. But one day a client is going to say, can you make one of those smooth scroll things? And you're going to go, yeah, Nathan had a plugin one time. It was called Better Smooth Scroll. We can absolutely do that. So when that day comes, just thank me then. And we'll move on to the next plugin, which is shareable password protected posts. Now, this is very cool because what this does is extend the password protection feature on a WordPress page, just the core password protect option, and allows you to create a link that is shareable that bypasses the password. Let me show you what I mean. Let's go here into the back end and grab a page. I don't know. Let's do the blog page. Why not? Actually, we're not going to be able to see that because it's the blog page. Let's just grab this one. Okay, so any page in WordPress, as you are likely aware, over here under visibility, you can set it to be password protected right there. Now, we're going to create a password. It says use a secure password, so we're going to use the most secure password of all time. Password 123, which, as we all know, super uncrackable, right? So there it is, password protected. We're going to update this. I also forgot to activate this plugin. Rule one of plugins is always the plugin must be active before you can demo it on a webinar. So let me activate the plugin. And what this is actually going to do, now that this page is set to be password protected, underneath here, when I refresh this page, you're going to see a link. As soon as it activates, everything is slow today. And we wait for it to reload. My goodness, we need a new website. Okay, right here. Look, share post via secret URL. Check that box and look, there's now a secret URL, which we can copy. We need to update it to make sure that URL actually works. Now we get this weird key at the end and so forth. But what that lets you do is password the page, protect the page from the public, but then you could send a client that might not want to type in a password or whatever. You could just send them a link to the page and they can access it. It bypasses the password protection just like that. So even if I go here in an incognito window and I use that key, it's going to let me view the page. Boom, just like that. So it bypasses the password with its own little key, and pretty helpful, easy way to accomplish that. Yeah, Ben, you're saying you've had a few requests for that? Yeah, pretty cool. So that is shareable password protected posts. Any questions or comments about that one? Good stuff. Let's see. There are a couple of other things here. Let's see where. Password protected posts. Chris, was there a settings page for this one where we can get to this filter? This is on for all post types by default, but okay, you can change that with code. But yeah, by default, it works for all post types. So any standardly defined custom post type, you can do this. Good deal. All right. That is shareable password protected posts. Good stuff. Moving down to the next one, you might find this to be a really helpful tool as you're developing a site. I'm not sure I'd leave it on a site after it was live and had been launched, but as you're clicking all the way, finding pages and posts and whatever, developing a site, you may find that admin page spider is helpful, because what it does is it adds to the top of your page. Did it not activate? Boy, WP Nathan is limping along for bare life. Oh, it is there. I'm just blind. Okay. Notice up here at the top, there's now two new menu items for editing pages and posts. And what has happened here is this plugin has spidered the list of pages and posts on the website. Now, it only works for pages and posts, not custom post types. But look, boom, you can just click directly to a page and it opens it up in the editor. That's really helpful as you're building sites. Instead of having to click to pages, scroll, find the page, especially if there's a lot of pages, find the page you're looking for, hit edit. This just lets you mouse over, click it, and you're right into edit mode. Works for posts as well. Pretty cool thing. Very, very simple. It's a toolbox plugin that as you're developing might be really helpful to you. That's called Admin Page Spider. Any questions, comments about that one? Stacy, does it give the option to edit in Beaver Builder or Elementor? Well, so it brings you into, like, here's a page that's using Beaver Builder, for example. If we click this, it just takes us to the edit screen. And, oh, you know what? I don't have Beaver Builder active, but it would have that thing at the top, edit in Beaver Builder. Right? So if you're using a page builder, it would have it there. Right? So Admin Page Spider, super simple. Like it's really low tech, but it's little plugins like this sometimes that can save you a few clicks, and a few clicks saved up every time over the course of a project can end up into, some real time saving. So that is Admin Page Spider from J7 Digital. All right. There are some basic settings. Let's see. And you can change what that is, I guess, in the settings. Yeah. Edit page, edit post. You can change the names of those or hide one or the other. Yeah, pretty simple. All right. This plugin is a big one. Okay. I found this plugin because I just wanted something that I could paste in a list of taxonomy terms out of a spreadsheet and just paste it in somewhere and let it bulk create those things. And I ran across Taxapress, and I'm going to tell you something. This plugin does everything you could possibly want with taxonomies and WordPress. Categories, tags, custom taxonomies, whatever. It is incredibly powerful, especially for a free plugin. It's incredibly powerful for a paid plugin. And there is a pro version available that does more things, but honestly, this free plugin is absolutely amazing. Let me go in here and activate Taxapress, and you'll see what I mean. Again, I found this because I was just looking for something to paste in a list of terms, and it had, auto-populate my category with these terms. So it does that, but that's just the bare minimum of what it does. So moving right along here. Waiting for it to load. Okay, there's now a new Taxapress option. Okay, so right here in one view, we can see, okay, what are all of the public taxonomies that have been created on this site? So there's categories, colors, which was a custom taxonomy applied to the stuff custom post type, WooCommerce stuff here. So it shows you what post types they apply to, what all the terms are. This is super helpful for just getting your hands around a site maybe that you haven't been in for a while, or if you've maybe, are inheriting like a rescue site from somebody, just seeing what's going on. But now we can look at the terms over here. And the terms, look, here's all of the various options that have been defined in the various taxonomies. So you can sort it. Like I want to see all the categories that have been defined on this site. So that's super helpful, right? Then you can do a terms display, which is something like a tag cloud, where you can tag cloud, but for taxonomy terms of any type, you can display those with a short code. Like if you have a blog or something and you want, some sort of a, your custom taxonomy terms in a tag cloud, you've got that. The same thing to display terms for the current post. That works. There's so many things. It has a related post function that within its own architecture, you don't need a separate related posts plugin. It will suggest related posts based on taxonomy terms. So it's got a short code for that when you can set up and define related posts. It's got these auto links are super cool. Very similar to the first plugin that we looked at, where, if a term appears, like if you have a taxonomy term or like a tag on your website for this particular term, it will automatically go through your site and link that term to the archive page for that tag or that category or whatever. So they're super helpful. Like what I use in auto terms, it will actually go through and make some suggestions for you based on post content of some new terms you might want to create, which is incredibly helpful. Let's see here. We can mass edit terms that are used on the site. So, here's this post. What terms do we want to apply to it? Boom, 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 and update all. Here, the manage terms is what I use to bulk create. So we can say, I want to add terms, and I just, I want to create, you decide, I want it to be on this post type and what the taxonomy term is. And then you can just string out your list of all the terms you want to add, and boom, it just populates the taxonomy with all the terms you define. So it's super, super powerful. There isn't much you'd want to do with a taxonomy that this won't handle. And there's a pro version that does even more things. So that is TaxoPress. It is really, really cool. Any questions or comments about this one? Beth, will it allow you to customize the order of the terms to be displayed on the back end? No, with something like that, you need something like, is it called simple post order? We've done a plugin fairly recently that did that. But you'd need something where you're dragging the term and making it a menu order that way. But this doesn't change the order of terms, no. Other questions or comments about TaxoPress? Pretty cool stuff. Very, very powerful. All right, moving down to the next one, which is notification. Custom notifications and alerts for WordPress. Now, in the past, we've featured plugins. One was called Stream, which is a really cool user monitoring plugin that keeps track of when people log in and log out or deactivate plugins or do things. And you can set alerts if those things happen. This is similar to that. It's not so much focused. It doesn't do user logging, but it's really focused on the notifications. And your ability to create notifications is a lot more granular than like the Stream plugin offered. So if you need something that's going to send you an alert when something happens in WordPress, and by alert, it can be an email, or it could be a webhook like that you could attach to Zapier with this. The Pro version allows you to attach to Slack, like send a Slack message if something happens on the site. This gives you a lot of options for doing that. So let me go in and activate that plugin. Notifications, or notification, singular. And we have need to find where it's located. Right there. Okay, so just a few examples here of some predefined notifications we set up. So here, if a page is trashed, so it's called page, trashed page. The subject of the email is a page was trashed on your site. Page trashing user nice name. Just trashed the page on wpnathan.com, and it shows the page title, ID, and permalink. So this is going to happen if anytime somebody trashes the page, an email is going to be sent to me with this information. This is really helpful if you got, users that are doing stuff to your site that you don't want it to do. There's a lot of different things that you can use as a trigger as well. So look here, a page is published privately, scheduled, page trash, page updated. If they create any category terms or change or delete, same with tags. If a user logs in, logs out, user registers, user deleted, the password changes, media added, updated, trashed, comment, published, added, replied, approved, lots of comment options. If the site email in settings is changed, you can trigger there. Anything with plugins, activate, deactivate, update, installed, removed. Theme, anything with themes here. If there's privacy requests from the WordPress privacy system. So lots of core things. If any of these things happen, you can trigger an email to be sent, or you could actually, you can also create a, instead of an email in the free version, you can create a webhook. So like if you're using Zapier or something like that, you can create a Zap that has a webhook. And so when something happens on the WordPress site, it'll talk to that webhook, and then Zapier will take off and do whatever you've told Zapier to do. So this is really powerful. It can do a lot of things. There's a pro version that does a lot more things. Pretty cool. So that is notification by bracket space. Questions or comments on this one? Pretty nice little plugin. Dave, would it look at plugin events too, like event added to the events calendar? That is a great question. I'm going to guess not in the free version. I think I've got events calendar set up. Let's just test that. But like, for example, WooCommerce is on this site, and adding a new WooCommerce product isn't there. Actually, let's take a look here. Maybe it's under post added. Doesn't look like it doesn't give us WooCommerce options. So I'm going to guess it doesn't do anything with the events calendar either. We'll just double check. That may be something they offer in the pro version. User, media, comments, plugins. No. I was thinking maybe over here in the post area, they would have like a post type, but this is just the merge tags that you would use here in the email message. So it doesn't look like that. You might want to check the pro version. Maybe it'll do that. All right. Any other questions, comments about this one? All right. Next to the last, and potentially the mind-blowing plugin of the day, is called Scroll Sequence. Scroll Sequence. So have you seen these really cool UI designs, like, for example, on the Apple website, where as you're scrolling down the page with your mouse, or you're flipping, you're sliding your finger on your phone, or using a touchpad, whatever, like the laptop spins around and opens up, but the page isn't actually going down, like there's interaction with something there. This plugin does that for WordPress. It is pretty cool. Scroll Sequence. Now, the best way for me to show you this is actually the demo on the site, because I'm not even going to try to set one up. But here's the demo. The link is right here in the handout, and I'm scrolling down the site, and we have this, whatever this is, and this DNA strand is gradually doing its thing, and the text is changing and so forth. And then we move down to the rest of the page. It does the same going back up, just reverses the process. It is super, super cool. Now, you can actually play in their sandbox here. Uh-oh. I'm getting an error when trying to open the sandbox. That's not helpful. Okay, so I'm having trouble opening that. Let me get in the sandbox so you can actually see what's going on there, because you really need to see how this works. There's that. So each of these steps is a separate image. So there's like 60, 80 images happening here. Okay. So it's not, we'll just say it's not the lightest page weight in the world, but it does lazy load some of those images and so forth. So it does as well as it can for, you know, the situation that it's in. I can't open the sandbox for some reason. I've got an issue with this link. Live demo. There we go. Here it is. So just go, if you want to see the sandbox, go to scrollsequence.com, examples, live demo. There it is. And a demo will open this up. And like, for example, if you see the media library in this, you can see like here's a bag, and they're just very incremental changes in this rotating bag image to get it where it needs to go. And there's only, 50,000 images in the media library. What could go wrong? But there's some really cool stuff here. Like here's a watch. Here's an example of what it can do. Isn't that cool? That's where we just were. Pretty amazing. But all these are gradual images. Yeah. So that is pretty cool. Pretty cool. I mean, not something I'd use on every website. This would be very expensive, I think, to create. But yeah, like you could get a video of something like a watch spinning like that, and then using a video editing software, you can excerpt keyframes, and just make a bunch of single images out of that video file. There's a number of video editors that do that. Pretty cool. That is Scroll Sequence. It lets you do all those things. And if this is interesting to you, play around with it a little bit. Kind of cool. All right, and last but not least, this is going to be a controversial plugin of the Roundup. It is AI Content Writer. So this is a plugin that brings in the power of the OpenAI GPT-3 into WordPress. It is rather interesting. So let us activate this, shall we? AI Content Writer. And we are going to, we're just going to create a post from scratch here. All right. Go away, please. There we go. So many meta boxes. Okay. I need a subject, please. Who would like to create a subject for our blog post? Anybody? Privacy. Okay. So here's our AI button. If you missed that, it's right up here in the post editor. We're going to click that. Article title is going to be the basics of website of how about this? The basics of keeping your password safe, the basics. How about that? Okay. We're going to 5 headings. So 5 headings in the article. It is thinking about them right now. They just generated these 5 headings. Those all sound good. You can choose what H tag you want them to have. Next, this is awfully cool. What is your writing style? This is going to be, I don't know, technical, and the tone will be humorous. It'll also add an image in the post if you want this. Well, we'll try it. I've had mixed results with this. Do we want an introduction and conclusion paragraphs? Yes. Generate the article. And we watch and see what it does. Scott, yes, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Okay. So here's our article. There's our intro paragraph. Here are each of our sections. We're missing, we didn't get, these did not come in as a list block. So we need to fix that. Not good. Well, anyway, there's some formatting issues there, but there is our nicely created article. There's our generated image. Not terrible. Interesting, right? Bring it right into WordPress. Yes, this is free, Beth. I mean, you could do the same thing with ChatGPT. Here's the thing. Y'all remember in the news roundup last year, we talked about, hey, Google is starting to watch for AI content, right? And they don't like AI generated content. Now, my question is why? Really? Because honestly, I mean, unless the article is super technical, you may find that the AI generated content is better than that $5 an hour copywriter that you hire from somewhere. I don't know. But anyway, how would Google know is the question I'm always asked. And here's how Google would know. Here's a link right here to huggingface.co, Open AI Detector. I was having some problems with this website earlier. I think they're getting hammered because chat. Okay, here we go. I am going to simply copy. Let's just get into the meat of the article and let's copy this paragraph and drop it in here. And it's going to think about whether or not this is AI generated text. It takes it a minute. It's kind of slow. I'm going to guess this site is going to get really, really slow the more GPT gets used. But we'll let that sit for a minute. I may just wait and we'll come back to it in a minute. But it generally detects that it is AI generated content. And so, Google says we don't like that. So I don't know what you do with that. This sort of AI generation is really helpful. A content generator like this is super helpful because it can at least get you started with some ideas for blog posts. Yeah. Still thinking about it. So while it continues to think, any other questions or comments about the AI content writer? It's just a port from the OpenAI GPT into WordPress. Beth, does it work with page builders and classic editor? I don't know. That is the WordPress editor. I don't know the answer to that. You'd have to test it. I would imagine you'll have to use the standard WordPress editor and then maybe roll that into your page builder if you're using a page builder. Sue, it does not show up in the source. What's still thinking about that? Wow. All right, let's try this again. I've also found that starting over again, rebooting the web page makes it work faster. Boy, it's slow. Yeah, so you can look at the content. There's nothing in the content that would suggest that it's generated. It's just straight text. Any other questions or comments about this class? But Google will know you have the plugin installed. Maybe. Yeah, Beth, I think AI is here to stay. I think you're right. Yeah, look here, 79% fake just with this block. Interesting, right? Let's do this. Let's test it with, this is the description from the plugin page that we assume the plugin developer wrote. Let's test that and see what it thinks. Questions or comments again about scroll sequence while we're waiting on this? Paste in my bio. Well, right now it's running slow again, so that's a good idea though. Let me try that. Ronnie, what is meant by requires an API free? Okay, so when you set this up for the first time, let's see, is it under settings? Hang on. Settings, and no, let's see. There it is down here. You have to go out and drop in an API key from OpenAI. So we usually don't do plugins that are just like an API connection, but this one was so cool. I went ahead and broke my rule. But yeah, you need this, you need an API key. You can get it right here at this link. You need to have an account with there on the openai.com. It's free. So yeah, you just connect it up. Once you have an account, you drop in the API key, you're good to go. Oh yeah. This is, I don't have enough resources on my server to handle all these hits. Okay, well, we're going to give up on that. So y'all can test this. You've got the link to this tester right there. You can play around with it and further cripple these poor people's server resources. All righty. Any final questions or comments on that last one? OpenAI, or the AI content writer. Well, that brings us to the end of our list for January 2023. It was quite a list. Now it's time for you to vote for what your favorite plugin of the roundup was. One vote only, please. Taxapress, Taxapress, Taxapress. Content, click whale. Taxapress, content, click whale. Linker, linker, click whale. Writer. All right, any last votes? Taxapress. Paul, I'll do that just for you. All right, everybody. So it looks to me like Taxapress was the clear winner, with the AI content writer coming in second and Click Whale as an honorable mention. So we will add those to our list for the best of plugin roundup, which will happen in June for the first 6 months of this year, as always. If you missed last month, we did the best of July through December of 2022, and it was a really great list of those as well. All right, folks, we do not have a webinar tomorrow. We're getting all of our January webinars filled out. I do want to mention, of course, there's office hours Thursday for members. That is as always. But we did add this webinar last week, the state of password managers in 2023. For some reason, something came up in the news, about password managers, I think. LastPass, something happened. I'm kidding, of course. Many of you were struggling with passwords over the holiday week, which was terrible. So Kathy Zant is going to come talk to us about password managers, give a broad overview, talk about some specifics with recommendations of where to go from here, talk about the future of passwordless login with passkeys. And that is scheduled. It's a free webinar scheduled for 1 week from today, January the 10th at 1 o'clock Central Time. And we'll have more webinars for January filling in later this week. So be watching that schedule. If you are a member, make sure you are ready to go for Fly 2023. We start up on the 11th. That's a week from tomorrow with our productivity. And of course, the news roundup here on January the 17th is scheduled and ready to go. That's going to wrap it up for us today. Hope it's been a fun use of your time. Maybe you found a few plugins you can start to use right away. I will see members back on Thursday. Until then, have a great rest of the week. I'll see you back here on Thursday on iThemes training, where we go further together.